I wrote this play. Part of the reason why I wrote this play, not just this play, but all the plays I'll write, is that I like Hawaii. I like the world I get to build with my plays. I like the characters that I get to choose. I like to think about what they're wearing and what they do and what they say and what their characterizations are. It's a little dollhouse that I get to have, and it's a story that I get to tell. And the story that I would tell is the story where I imagine I'm sitting in the audience watching the play, and I'm laughing my ass off, or I'm crying, it's doing the things that would scratch my itch when I go to see theater. And so there's nobody that needs to see this play. There's nobody I'm begging to see this play because I know like on opening night I will be in the perfect seat, dead center, and I'm gonna watch the hell out of this thing, and it's gonna be my favorite play. And if people want to come and be a part of watching my favorite thing, um, that'd be awesome because then we could have a shared favorite experience together, and talk about it after. Um, so my family will be there, but they need to see the play only because like I want to talk to them about it. And the friends that I'm inviting, I want them to see the play because I want to talk to them about it. And my professors, this play is a love letter to them because I couldn't have done this without um, their knowledge or expertise and their craft that they were able to give me. And so if those people show up, then it would be a perfect, joyful experience for me. Whoever else shows up, that's on you. Come or don't come. Because we don't need Hawaiians don't need this. We have our own place, our own land, our own stories, our own ideas and opinions and thoughts, and we live full lives that has nothing to do with anybody else. Um, so yeah, come or don't come. My name is Noah Gardner. I am the writer of this play, The Staircase, and if you want to learn more, please listen to this conversation.
So my first question is, when did you hear about South Coast Repertory, and why did you want to work with this talented team at SCR?
Okay, so the thing that I didn't get in my grad school experience is they don't give you when you graduate, you don't get a roadmap of like, okay, go and talk to artistic directors, talk to literary managers, find an agent. Like it's about like it's about relationships ultimately. And how South Coast Rep came into my life because I did not seek them out. I did not know about South Coast Rep at all. And so I got an email out of the blue from Andy Knight, the literary manager, um, asking if he could Zoom with me because for a commission opportunity. That's what it wrote. That's what he wrote. And then we did Zoom, and I said, "Yeah, who is South Coast Rep? Like, who are you? And what's a literary manager? And what's your job? You know?" And basically, Andy was said like he as a literary manager, part of his job is to like go and source plays from wherever. And I happened when I graduated from USC, I joined a writers group called IAMA, Emerging Writers Group Under 30 or something. IAMA Under 30. And I think that was started by, I could be wrong, but so I should go check this. But a woman named Stephanie Black at IAMA, and there's this other person named Max Friedlich. Max Friedlich is the one that wrote Job that was just on Broadway. Um, and he brought me in. Like he had read my plays. Um, through somebody else. And so he called me and said, "Oh, join this writers group." And I did. And then somebody in that writers group, um, his name is Nicholas Pillapil. Nicholas works at South Coast Rep, put my plays in front of Andy. Andy read my plays, called me. Then we Zoomed, and then I took this commission. But what they did was they flew me out to see the festival because I didn't know what the festival was. And when I went to the festival, I saw like how many people were there, and like people from all over the country, from all these kind of big theaters. Um, Theaters I knew the names of, like Lincoln Center or like Alliance, like bigger names, Woolly Mammoth, like those are the theaters I knew, um, just from conversations with people. And so on the flight back, I thought, okay, like if I'm gonna get a reading with all these people, I'm gonna like take a big swing. And and this is over the pandemic era, right? So I kind of was thinking about pivoting to something else. I wanted to maybe pivot out of playwriting and go into something more, um, just something else, something more significant, something with maybe like more job security or something that could scratch a different sort of itch that writing wasn't, perhaps. And that was like the cultural side of my journey. I wanted to explore Hawaiian language more and Hawaiian studies a little bit more. So I was actually re-enrolled at the University of Hawaii as an undergraduate again and taking these classes because all these classes were on Zoom. So during that time, so it was really easy to start doing that. Anyways, so he called me for this commission, and then the development we developed a script just through like Zoom feedback sessions. Me and Andy, or me, Andy, and Kim at South Coast Rep. And then the play got to a very strong place through their help and their development. And then they paired me up with a director that I felt like understood the piece as I was writing it, which is GT Upchurch, who's directing the piece, because she saw a version of the play that was bad, but she talked about it as if it was good. And so it made me see that she could see past the what I wrote and where I wanted it to go. And so, boom, I thought, okay. So all of these pieces came into play, and then finally, when we had the reading, we didn't audition any actors. That South Coast Rep casted the play, um, but Joanne found this woman. This Her name is Kati Kuroda. She found Leilani Chan and Ova Salpang, um, who run Tiara theater productions in LA. They're Hawaii connected. They're local people. And then they found Ben Kane, who's in this production, who plays the father. And just those people with GT and with the script and how strong it was at that time, we had a successful reading because of that. And I felt like at least the reading people saw at least 70% of the intention. Like the play was at the 70-yard line. And I think that's why the theater, South Coast Rep, and David Ivers thought, okay, I can trust that this script will, by the time we get to production, it could be really strong. And so that's where we've ended up after this 2-year collaboration.
Where did the idea come from for the play The Staircase, and why did you have to write the play?
The idea originally, and this is what's just true, so I can only say what's true, but I, on the plane ride back from the festival, the first time they flew me out, I started to ideate on the plane about like what is the image that's coming to me? Because usually, like when I try to start a play, I try to start with an image, and I try to start from a place where, like, if that moment were to happen, I would there would be a catch in my throat. I would be emotional about it for whatever reason. I don't know. And it's hard to put words on it when you first like conceive of it, but when you feel the catch, then I'm trying to investigate it. And so when I was an undergrad, I saw this play, this Tennessee Williams play called I Can't Imagine Tomorrow, and it's a one act. And my friend directed it in a black box on campus at LMU. And it was a very simple play, and it was very intriguing. The language was very intriguing. The characters were very intriguing. The world was interesting and weird. And but nothing happens in that play. Like, and nothing happens in most plays, but like it's like two characters that are just chatting. One has a stutter. He has a hard time. So, but you can tell that he's in love with this woman, and this woman you can tell she's kind of sickly or something. Something's going on with her. And the whole play is on this night. She doesn't want this person here. She wants to go to bed. She wants to go upstairs and turn off the light and go to bed. And so she's the whole play, she's trying to push this guy out the door. And this guy's like, no, 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 I'll stay and I'll make you a sandwich. Or no, I'll stay and we'll play cards. But finally, at the end of the play, she walks up the staircase, this little step. There's like a 3, 4 step thing in this black box. And she makes it to the landing and she turns off the lamp. And that's how the play ends. And only when I realized, like, way later on, maybe in my room or something, that I thought, oh, she died in the metaphor of the play or whatever. You know how Tennessee Williams writes, like, it's just like in this weird sort of liminal space sometimes. And so I had this image of a mother and son, an older woman and a son, like middle aged, and they're on the couch and they're playing cards or whatever. And it's like he wants her to go upstairs and go to bed. And, in classic playwriting construction, the mom doesn't want to go up for whatever reason, doesn't want to fulfill the son's want. She has her own want, which is, I want to stay down here and sleep on the couch. And so the play kind of starts, I started the play there, that we would watch these two battle over whatever. But finally, at the end, she would walk up the staircase and he would be screaming after her to come back down or something like that. Um, and then I thought of like a father character, or like maybe the father is the thing that they're battling over. And so I thought I had this image of if the mom goes up the stairs and dad comes down the stairs. So that's the original conceit of the play, and then it has evolved from there. But why I must tell this story, you know, that came later on. Um, and it didn't come in the conceit of like I want to tell this about Hawaii or this is what I want, this is what I have to say, blah blah blah. It really has come in the development of because a lot of writing is subconscious. So I construct the play and make it a good story and make it have all the writerly playwriting things that you want in a play. And then when you get to the end of it, then you can go back and analyze why some things are in there, why some things are not. Because a lot of it comes from like, hmm, I I like this scene. Nobody else likes this scene, but I like this scene. So I'm gonna fight for this scene and figure out why I can't let it go. So when you start doing that analysis on it, then I can kind of understand the story I'm telling and the why I'm telling it. Um, that moves beyond the basic of mom son playing cards, chatting. That there may be a political thing that I'm trying to put on the play, or there may be just a more consequential aspect to this story that I'm trying to convey to the audience, which I could try and say if you'd like me to.
Well, that was going to be my next question is tell us
Mm,
as much as story arc you want to tell
hmm
us and a
hmm
little more about the characters and we'll talk more about the theme, but more right now talk about the story arc and the characters right now.
Yeah, it has something to do. I mean, the cultural thing that is in the play that is cool is that I was trying to explore. One of them was like the storytelling aspect of how Hawaiian people um, like their relationships to stories and how that function. Like we're a storytelling people, and um, these are the stories that I wanted to showcase, basically, because there is like a mythology that's in the play, and it's the mythology is the story of Hiaka, which is in conjunction. Like Hiaka is the sister of Pele, and a lot of people know Pele. They know volcano goddess. That's as much as they know. But like, here's an opportunity to showcase like a part of the story that people would never have heard before, essentially. Because I feel like people only get to touch Hawaii in a certain way. They are really kept at an arm's distance when they come, and that's purposeful because we don't want tourists uh, in the we want to keep them sort of off to the side. So that's why they stay in Waikiki or stay at the hotels. Very White Lotus, like keep it curated over there because white people can do a lot of damage to indigenous people, and so that separation is healthy for us. And Hawaii is a very unique place because it is part of the United States, technically. But Hawaiians are not Americans, and we don't feel any kinship in that way to America. And I say that because Hawaii is a unique place because when people come to Hawaii, white people, it's one of the few places in America that white people can feel otherized. They're named when they come. Haole, tourist. Usually people are used to doing the naming. Americans are used to naming, putting their names on things. And when they come here, they're named and they're made to feel other. Not in a malicious way, but you're other. You're just different, because everyone else is brown and you're white. And so there is this uncomfortability just from the start where like it's a strange power dynamic because America has a lot of power of Hawaii, but Hawaiians have a, an even stronger power, which is um, the land in which we reside. We've been on for millennia, and we have uh, I don't want to say a claim to it, but in our genealogy, we can walk it back all the way to the beginning of time, where you can see that the land uh, is an actual ancestor, an actual family member. So our relationship, and maybe all indigenous people or most indigenous people have a unique relationship to land that Western people do not. But it's because it's crafted in our creation stories. And so one story that you'll see in the play is Adam and Eve. And Adam and Eve is funny because God gives man dominion over the land. You name the animals. You do whatever you want with this is yours. In our creation, in Hawaiian creation story, the land was born first, and we are the younger sibling to land. And so that there is now a sibling relationship between us and land. That if we don't take care of our sibling, he won't take care of us. We need to feed him, water him, and then they can feed us and water us. So there's this beautiful thing just in the story. And, I want people to understand like Hawaiians have a very unique perspective on the world, and that informs character. So that will inform the characters that you'll see, and that informs the world building that would come from these characters building this world. So it's a Hawaiian and indigenous approach to world building and character development that you may not see in other Western plays these days.
What would you say are the main themes of the staircase?
One is one big one that we've discovered is shame. Like you'll hear that word come up a couple times in the play, and then the other word was stuck, being sort of um, unable to make a decision. Because like a big theme, without giving too much away, it's like stay or go, basically. So you'll see that in the play, and there's one more, I think. Shame, shame, stay or go, and oh, caretaking. It's a huge plot point. It's the whole. That's the entirety of the play. Like taking care of elders, um, and just from an indigenous perspective, a Hawaiian perspective, like elders have such a high reverence in our society because they have access to a world that is slipping away, like an older version of Hawaii or an older perspective of the world that when they pass, we won't have access to anymore. And Hawaiian is in before the printing press, like we were an oral language, and so we had to really listen to older folks really intently because we didn't have paper to archive it, so we had to like keep it in the brain as much as possible. And so if you look at what hula is, 90% of people know what hula is, like they've seen it, but they only know it from like hotel and touristy stuff. But hula has a is a religious uh, and spiritual um, thing, and it's not that like part of it is entertainment to be sure, but it's the way I've been taught is that it's a mnemonic device wherein these someone has information, they're able to demonstrate this information through body and through voice. And then if you're able to learn this chant, this text, and put it in your body in a physical way, then you won't lose that information. It's like the ABCs, you know. Why do we learn the ABCs through song? It's just to help us remember the ABCs. So if you look at it through that lens, that's what's cool about it is that this passing of information is in the body and it's in voice. Um, so storytelling is an aspect that comes up as a theme in the staircase as well.
Tell us about the actors that are bringing your play, The Staircase, alive at South Coast Repertory Theater.
Yeah, this is really a good question. So yeah, thank you for this question so I could talk about these people because well, one to start with is Kati Kuroda who did pass away, and when I tell you that we gave this woman like hardly a note when we workshopped this play because she read this piece and she just understood it. Um, and Kati Kuroda, I didn't know her for a long time, but she is somebody that has lived and worked in Hawaii for as a theater as an actress for decades and has been in a ton of productions in Hawaii, but also has lived in New York, I think, for a decade or two, and was an actress in New York. Um, in the 80s, and she's Asian, Asian American woman. So I can only imagine how tough it was for her um, to work at that time. But she did work, and she worked a ton. And so she was like this grand dame of Hawaiian theater that I didn't get to know too well. But I owe her a lot of a debt because her being on the play helped it deepen tremendously. So when she passed, there's this other woman that I had known that I met through the Bay Area Foundation, that she was in a reading of mine. Um, and it was sort of serendipitous. She came across one of my plays and so it got to be in the reading and then we got to chatting and realizing like, oh, she could be in the staircase like if it got produced too, so keeping her um in my brain about the thing about Hawaiian plays is like Hawaiian actors are few and far in between. So when you find one, it's it's exciting to find one that would fit, in a role that you wrote. So you'll see Auntie Ehu Kane in this play, um, and she holds the play in this really strong way, profound way. And then Will Kahele is the son, and from what I understand about Will, um, Will has been acting in Hawaii on stage for a long time as well, so very comfortable being on a stage. Um, I don't know that Will has been on a stage um, of this size, um, or may yeah, of this size and maybe like not in Hawaii, maybe like a mainland stage. I don't know. I'll have to get back to you on that one. Um, but he he is perfect for this role as well. It's weird. And then just from his story and stuff. And then even Nara, who plays Sweetheart, I called her on the phone. I got my friend who knew her when I was soliciting like who should play these characters. My friend texted me and said, "Oh, you should look up Nara Cardenas. She lived in Hawaii and she worked. She was an actress in Hawaii too. Studied at Yale. for acting, but is now living in Utah. So she's Hawaiian, but can't get back home right now to Hawaii, just because of life, life stuff. And the sweetheart character experiences the same thing in the play. Wants to be home in Hawaii, but gets pulled back um, to different like because of life stuff. Um, and then Ben Kane was on the original workshop, and he was just the strongest actor. And Father is the hardest person to write for me in the play. So I've been trying different versions of Father, and Ben is able to take on different versions of Father and reflect back to me what is working, what's not working, basically. So all four of those people, like, it's well cast. It's well cast for sure. Yeah.
What do you want the audience to get out of the Staircase production?
Honestly, the thing that I don't know. The thing I want, I think right now, is if I show you these characters who to me are very real and indicative of people that I know in Hawaii. They have the sort of embody a lot of the attitudes of Hawaiian people. Um, Not everything, but a lot of like some of it. And I would hope that when people come and see the play, and if they like the play and they like the characters and they like the world, that they would speak to us and interact with us in a different way than people do. Um, because I know like a lot of characters like Mother in this play, and like Auntie Ehu, the actress that plays Mother. I know a lot of women like her, and it would make me feel good for people to see someone like her when they go and meet someone like her in the wild, an older Hawaiian woman, and treat her with a ton of respect. Because this woman, who you'll see on stage, just because of her sheer humanity, demands your respect in that way. And the thing that I'm, to me, that would be the top-notch thing is that a lot of theater goers, they go to see theater to have a cathartic experience. That you get to, like, theater gives you something that film can do, but it does it in its own way. TV can sometimes do, especially in the golden era of TV. Like, it was scratching a lot of people's itches on that respect. And I'm just talking about the cathartic experience. There's something cathartic about going into a theater, walking in one way, watching a play, and leaving the building a completely different person. And I know that a lot of people have been bitten by that bug before, and it's been through, ask somebody and they'll tell you the play that activated them for the first time. And there's probably somebody that will come to this play, and maybe a younger person who hasn't had that experience yet, hasn't had the experience of being activated by theater. Um, And wouldn't it be cool if their first time having that experience was with Hawaiian people, was with this Hawaiian story? That's one. Because for me, my first activation was probably like The Glass Menagerie, was probably like um, Death of a Salesman, A Raisin in the Sun, August Wilson, like these kind of like old school plays. I think about them like old school plays. Because you kind of just don't see that anymore. I don't know what that is necessarily, but it's like this. I don't know how to explain it. But when I went to see that kind of theater, it gave me something, or like doubt, this moment where like this priest faces off with this nun, and they get to have this epic sort of fight and stuff. That to me was like that was my activation. So like, wouldn't it be cool if like that activation for somebody was like Hawaiian plays? So those are the two things that I think I hope people walk away from with the play.
I do ask this usually later on, but I think it's a perfect question. Tell us why more voices of the community must be heard and told in the theater world.
It's a good question. If I can answer it, I think there is a danger to well, diversity of voices and diversity in general. gives you diversity of thought, and diversity of thought helps you approach life. It just gives you more tools in your toolbox. If you come from a homogeneous culture or homogeneous upbringing, your toolbox is very limited on how you can approach life. So that's why art is so dangerous. It's because sometimes art can give people what they don't get in their childhood or in their upbringing. And so that is the importance of like DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion in something like art and in something like theater. That's one. And then on the Hawaiian side, like why should we have more Hawaiian voices or more Hawaiian plays? It's because then it'll give us more freedom to fail. Because right now it doesn't feel like um, what I can put out can be bad. It has to kind of be good because if it's good, then people can take it seriously and assess it for its seriousness and then discuss the things that are in that play with a bit of seriousness. But if you see a bad play that maybe has good stuff in it, but it's a bad play, you can't talk about a bad play too much. It's very difficult. So the first step is like write a good play, and then you might have the chance to talk about other things that are in the play. But if you have more people in it, more Hawaiian folks in it, then there's more freedom to fail and be more experimental. Because, and this is an example I always bring up, but like in the Western canon, it's so saturated that you could write anything and nobody cares. That's why there's American Pie 9. That's why there's Fast and Furious 14 and Avengers or MCU or whatever. It's like we can have fun now and make whatever, and people won't care. But in these smaller communities where they're starting to just put out work or significant work, it's critiqued very, very harshly, especially from the community, because they want to safeguard what is being said about them and how they're being represented to people. Um, so that's a lot to consider because if I want to construct a character, um, and maybe be more experimental and be more fun, I need to understand that that representation won't, or that kind of character won't damage, you know, like unpurposefully damage Hawaiian folks and their standing in the world. Because in my view, our standing is pretty high. And a lot of people, they don't even know where we exist. And I'm using this opportunity to showcase people, Hawaiian folks existing, and I'll be damned if the audience doesn't react off of that animation, that full lived body experience. So then I won't feel gaslit of like, hey, I'm screaming over here. Doesn't anyone notice me? You know, this play is not a scream, but it is uh there is a statement being made, and I want people to hear it and have a back and forth with me about it, you know.
What magic, or at least I consider theater magic, what magic do you want the viewers to take home from them watching your play, The Staircase?
I mean, like the take home part is so important because there are a lot of plays that you'll see, and when the show ends, you get in your car and you think about what you're going to eat for dinner. And then there are plays and you get in your car and you're still thinking about the play. And you drive an hour back home to wherever, right? And you're thinking about the play the whole time. And then you go to bed and you wake up and you call your friend and you say, you should go see this thing because I want to talk to you about it because I don't know, I'm thinking about it and I need someone to talk to you about it because I don't know how to land on it. Or, you know, there's something sticky about the play. And so the walk away or the take home is that I want there to be that stickiness on people that maybe maybe there's parts of the play they couldn't access, and maybe they want to come back and see it again so that they can sort of keep an ear out for that. Or maybe there's parts of the play where they immediately could access and they can start applying that to their own lives. But to me, the magic of theater is that you can attach yourself to a character in a play, suspend reality, immerse in this world, attach yourself to this character, and if this character has a cathartic emotional experience on stage and in their life story in the play, then that will give you permission to also have that cathartic, joyful, whatever experience in your own life, because in theater, it's one of the places where you can have a conversation that you couldn't necessarily have in real life because those conversations are harder and more awkward and more vulnerable than we like to be in our everyday lives. But in theater, it's a safer space to have a harder conversation with the people that you want to have conversations with. Like, like this is a story about a mother and a son. There are things mothers and sons can't say to each other in real life. There are things fathers and sons can't say to each other in real life, just because it's just too too emotionally too much that we go and talk to therapists about, but don't have with the people that we should be talking to. But in this play, like they have to talk to each other and they have to talk to each other about the thing, you know? Yeah.
Most important question: why must the viewers attend the production of The Staircase?
Honestly, you don't. Because I wrote this play. Part of the reason why I wrote this play, not just this play, but all the plays I'll write, is that I like Hawaii. I like the world I get to build with my plays. I like the characters that I get to choose. I like to think about what they're wearing and what they do and what they say and what their characterizations are. It's a little dollhouse that I get to have. And it's a story that I get to tell and the story that I would tell is the story where I imagine I'm sitting in the audience watching the play and I'm laughing my ass off or I'm crying or it's doing the things that would scratch my itch when I go to see theater. And so there's nobody that needs to see this play. There's nobody I'm begging to see this play because I know like on opening night I will be in the perfect seat, dead center, and I'm gonna watch the hell out of this thing, and it's gonna be my favorite play. And if people want to come and be a part of watching my favorite thing, um, that'd be awesome because then we could have a shared favorite experience together, and talk about it after. Um, so my family will be there, but they need to see the play only because like I want to talk to them about it. And the friends that I'm inviting, I want them to see the play because I want to talk to them about it. And my professors, this play is a love letter to them because I couldn't have done this without their knowledge and expertise and their craft that they were able to give me. And so if those people show up, then it would be a perfect, joyful experience for me. Whoever else shows up, that's on you. Come or don't come. Because we don't need Hawaiians don't need this. We have our own place, our own land, our own stories, our own ideas and opinions and thoughts, and we live full lives that has nothing to do with anybody else. So yeah, come or don't come.
Your play is part of the South Coast Repertory Pacific Playwright Festival this year.
Hmm.
What are you looking forward to see and watch during this festival?
I love to, South Coast Rep. I have to say, they probably put on the best festival for playwriting. And part of it is because, and I told this to David Ivers, the artistic director, because I had this realization at the last festival. Because at the last festival, I got to just be a spectator again. And it's the perfect format for writers because they cast the plays so well for these readings. And we're so close to LA and like all these actors, this huge pool of actors that can just come in and just do the thing. Um, and, you know, so the actors are great. The directors that they bring in are awesome, right? Like they're taking care of all the other aspects so that the writer, when they watch the piece back, they can't blame it of, oh, they didn't get it or whatever on the acting, or they didn't get this because of the direction. They have to confront themselves and say, no, it's the writing. The reason why it's not working is because of the writing. And sometimes there's development opportunities where those other elements muddy the waters because maybe the actors aren't right, or maybe the direction, you and the director don't have that relationship, and so you aren't able to shape the piece the way you'd like. So sometimes I go back to my room and think like, is it a bad play? Did they not get it? But in this festival, because South Coast Rep takes care of so much, the writers can strengthen their writing because they can see where in the script there are problems and address them. And the problems are so bright, at least when I'm watching them. The problems in a script is so bright, it's exciting to feel like, oh, once they nail that part, this play will really, you can start imagining it more and more and more on American stages. And you'll see a lot of these plays that come out of this festival on American stages, 2, 3, 4 years time. So that's what's exciting about it too. Is you kind of get like first access to that.
There's always a playwrights panel. Did you enjoy that? And how do you what did you get out that from the other playwrights who were there on the panel?
Really enjoyed that because one is like I never get to talk shop with writers as much as I'd like to, especially living in Hawaii. So when I get to be around other playwrights, I love to, yeah, talk craft with them. And then the questions in the playwrights panel and the way it was moderated, like H. Adam Harris, I think, is the one that moderates the panels, and the questions are super thoughtful, and he understands like how to guide an audience to ask like thoughtful questions. Um, and the audience that comes to South Coast Rep, um, outside of like the theater people that come, um, these people are theater people, and they've been around the block and they've seen a ton of plays and have been engaging with a lot of plays, not just classics and older plays, but modern plays as well. And so they also know how to ask questions, how to ask thoughtful questions. So the conversations on the playwrights panel ends up being like really thought provoking and full, yeah, thoughtful.
Why must the SoCal community, especially people who love theater, attend this year's Pacific Playwrights Festival at South Coast Repertory?
I think because it's just a nice, like the experience is so lovely. Like the way that they stack the day, the way that they just the way that it's organized. It helps you. Um, Sometimes plays, going to see plays, they can be a slog, you know. They're not always the funnest thing, especially new play development. It's always hit or miss sometimes. But at least like the caliber of writing that's going to come out of this festival is going to be quite high. So at least you'll have the opportunity to see like really well written plays, new plays. And so that's one, like the well written part of it all. But then like new plays, like it's fun to catch a play early and championing it, as it continues to find life on other stages out in the world. But it's cool to like be the first person to kind of, um, yeah, it's like screeners at like Sundance or something where you got to see that Oscar-winning thing before it was ever considered to be Oscar worthy.
When did you first fall in love with theater, and why did you have to be part of the theater world?
I always start this story with I went to Loyola Marymount as an undergrad. So this was in 2012 to 2016, and I, I came to LMU like not knowing what I wanted to do and understanding that writing was something that I had a skill at, and I tried my hand at different things because there was a different survey of classes, English classes I could have taken. So, poetry and short story and narrative fiction and all that kind of stuff. And then only in my last year, my senior year, I took a 10-minute playwriting course by this professor. His name was Kelly Younger, and I really enjoyed that because we just read a lot of plays and like from a craft perspective, like learned just like the craft that goes into writing a play because a play is different from the craft of a poem, different from the craft of a short story. And so he taught a 10-minute playwriting course, and then the next semester he taught a full-length playwriting course. And I liked playwriting at that time just because it gave me a chance to construct characters and build worlds, and I thought that was an interesting function of playwriting. So Kelly Younger, my professor, just pulled me to the side one day and said, like, you should look into like going to school for this. And I at that time I didn't realize you could go to school for playwriting. Um, so that's the sort of spark that sort of started it. And before that, I would say like I didn't do any theater in high school, but I did do speech and debate. I was like the president of my speech and debate club. I really enjoyed uh, just that club, and I was on the interpretation side of speech and debate. So I acted in these in these. I was in duo interpretation, so I had a partner, a scene partner, and something about speech and debate where you go into different classrooms for your tournament or whatever, you go into different classrooms and you have to like perform in front of an audience that's probably like 5 feet in front of you. And you'd have to like emote and get them to understand your story and all that kind of stuff that you find in theater right now, you know? So I could connect like the writing side, the craft of writing with the speech and debate aspect, that live nature aspect. Um, so I found a happy medium with those two things in playwriting.
When did you fall in love with writing, and when did it go from an interest to an obsession?
I didn't realize that, I spent a lot of my time growing up watching TV and movies and having an appreciation for like a good movie. Um, and I think it was like that thing of like trying to discover like why I like it. Why do I like it? Like is it the world building? Is it the character? Is it the dialogue? Is it sound? Is it visual? Like it's all of that. I found like so like what I will say is Mad Men was a TV show that I really enjoyed a lot, and I've rewatched it maybe 6 or 7 times. And on the third or fourth pass, realizing that it was the writing of that show, and that the show itself is every episode is like a play. And I realized on this last rewatch, 'cause I just did a recent rewatch, if you take the first season of Mad Men, the second season of Mad Men, and the third season of Mad Men, it is the perfect American play. Because it just investigates. The first season is the first act, the second season, the second act. The third season, the third act, and it's exploring one character all the way through. Don Draper, and you can see where we meet him, how he arcs, and where he lands. Um, so I mean, so all of that was like it's like pretty satisfying once you get to see that. And I get that so much from playwriting, a satisfying character arc. Those are my favorite kind of plays because there are all kinds of different plays, but that is the thing that I want to like really hone and master.
Theater experience. Why is it such a unique format, both for the audience and the actors?
I think only because it's different every time. Because I've been in things where like the theater was too cold, and that made the actors like they were more bright because they were I don't know they were just their body they were just more up, and then the theater people like I mean the audience I mean they're cold so they're up and they're freezing and they're trying to distract themselves from how cold it is, and so they're really engaged, and then go on the other side of that of like the theater being like too stuffy, and then have the audience is falling asleep because it's just too warm, and then the actors can't get a response from the audience in places where they thought they would because half of the people are like dead, and so you could have this a perfect play that could be affected by all sorts of things on that day that you would have no control over, you know? So it's really special to like kind of have all the stars align for the day that you go and see the show for whatever reason, where like people are just happen to be on. Or like, you know, Broadway, like sometimes the performer, they've done it like 200 times or something, and it's like, but they still make it feel like this is the first time they're doing it. But they're doing it for you because this is your first time. So there's just like this symbiotic thing that happens between audience and actors that, as a writer, I have no control over. I can control as much as I can with the text, but after that, it really is out of my hands. You know what I mean?
Would you like to add on also, yes, there most playwrights where they make their money is TV and movies, obviously.
Mhm.
Almost every playwright has told me, he said, but my love is writing plays because it's like it's unique because you'll never see that version again, not like movies and TV. You want to talk a little more about that, how theater is so unique for the audience that way?
Yeah, it's like it's a question I get, yeah, quite often about going into TV and you know, it's not to say that I don't have a TV idea or a movie idea. I really do, but those are different crafts, and I'm in a space where like I don't want to write something and people don't get it or people don't like it because the things that I'm writing about are so personal. I would hate to have people not like it just for any number of reasons. Um, so with playwriting versus those other two forms, you know, playwright is king. Like I have a lot of control over what is put out. I have probably like 90%, it feels like 85% control of what you'll see, you know, specifically at a world premiere, right? But when you have a TV show and you have a movie, there are so many other cooks in the kitchen that have their own incentives and motivations to do the project or what have you that aren't necessarily aligned with what I would want from the piece. And so there's that aspect of it, and then there's also this like responsibility I feel to Hawaii, I mean, the place that I write about, and to these two Hawaiian people that we've been so misrepresented through TV and movies, and that's because of so many factors that there's just too many to enumerate, right? Like you'll have a piece that could be about Hawaii, a movie that could be about Hawaii, but the writer's not Hawaiian. Okay, maybe you have a Hawaiian writer writing about Hawaii. The director isn't tapped into that. The producers want to put their stamp on it. You know, this it's like at least in a playwriting room, and at least the way this process has been going at South Coast Rep, there's a lot of deference given to the writer, and there's a lot of things that I know now to ask for. Actually, I already knew a lot of it coming in, so that because South Coast Rep has the support and the funding to fulfill a lot of requests. Because the requests that I have, in order to make a superior product, would require, you know, actors that may be out of state. It would require an additional cultural consultant. It requires like there's a musician that's in the piece as well. You know, they've hired that person. They're so accommodating to what I feel like if you were to accommodate these things, you would be able to get a play in a way that you've never seen it before because so often with POC plays, BIPOC plays, Indigenous plays, the theaters, because they're so westernized, they can't accommodate everything. So far, I found a way to get most of my accommodations, maybe even all, honestly, from South Coast Rep. And so at least I know that the piece that you'll see will be as close to what I wrote. That's the hope.
As you mentioned, you've had a great experience with South Coast Repertory Theater. What would you tell other playwrights, actors, directors, why they should get involved with South Coast Repertory Theater?
One, I think like the support, you know, there are certain type of organizations where if a problem occurs, they make you feel badly about it, or they like the blame game happens, and it's about there's more effort on like identifying the blame and identifying like where it went wrong, and then there's the other like, or you could like put all that effort into like solving problems, and especially like trying to produce plays and theater and stuff, like problems abound, problems will occur, and South Coast Rep understands how to um navigate those like pitfalls because they've been around the block, for a number of years, so they know what to avoid and what not to do. And then when things do happen, because they always do happen, they address it, and they address it in this way that's like, no problem, sure, don't worry about it. And this they have to know that like to be able to de-stress, from an artist's perspective and not carry somebody else's tension, it helps free up the writer to write without anxiety. And if you're able to write without anxiety, you're gonna get cool things. Like for instance, like an example from last year, somebody wrote like a 19-person play. South Coast Rep casted that play, like, and showcased that play in the festival last year. Which is funny to write for me to hear because in grad school or just like the culture of writing playwrights, no playwriting, it's like we try to write like a 4-person or a 6-person play, so that's like less of an issue for the theater to produce it. But imagine like a 19-person play, what a huge ask that writer made of South Coast Rep. And South Coast Rep, you know, from an outsider's perspective, made it look seamless, made it look flawless. And so I'm just like truly just like so impressed and with South Coast Rep and on how they produce plays and the thoughtfulness that goes into curation and stuff, and especially just in the investment of the writer, that they're investing in me. They like me. They like my writing for sure, but they also like me and I like them. And that is as important as anything else because you can sense tenseness in a piece because of the personal relationships of all the goings on that have contributed to getting the piece on stage. You can feel that. And you can also feel the other side of it, where the ease of it all. Because this should be easy. Like in an ideal world, it's easy and it's beautiful. That's the best kind of art, I would say.
And as you know, paying ticket sales don't pay for a full production. So this is why I always ask us questions about, why people should donate to theaters like South Coast. So why are theaters like South Coast Repertory so important and needs the community help and support in all the ways they can do it?
There is this quote, but I can't remember it like precisely or who said it. But basically it's like somebody said like he either said like art or theater are the dreams of a society. And it's like you don't want to turn off that dreaming part of your brain. And you know, it sort of feels like almost like a national security issue where it's like you need to have your citizens, in a country, you need to have them dream of sort of the worlds that they want to live in and have access to what we're thinking about, what our anxieties are. And theater can give you sort of a blurry roadmap on how to achieve a certain kind of future if that's the thing that you want to, like, if that's the future that you want. And so, like, in the staircase, at least for me, like, there is a world building thing for these characters and for Hawaiian people that I would love for them to um, dream about and be a part of. But if the mind can't see it, then you can't do it. And so you have to use art and theater to imagine what could be, and then people will start shifting their brains to believing that it's true. Um, and I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah. So that's why it's important. Yeah, it's really important. Like, you don't just want to you don't want to live in a world where there's no art and there's no beauty. It contributes a significant part of a full and lived life. My name is Noah Gardner. I am the playwright of The Staircase, and I hope that you come and see this play. And please find me afterwards, and let's